I think that's very interesting. Now, when I look at your profile, you are also specialized in cybercrime. So I want to understand, suppose, let's take an example.
Right.
I'm someone who is willing to commit a cybercrime.
Right.
And let's say I post something that will affect or that will disturb the harmony of the community.
Right.
Something fallacious and
Yes.
fake news and, trying to, let's say, create all these tensions among the community. And those are not true. So if I use fake account, all this fake name, fake email, fake phone number, do you think police will be able to
Absolutely.
find me out?
Absolutely.
How does that work? Hello, viewers. Tonight we have one special guest tonight, and he is Mr. or in other words, IPS Mr. Sandeep Tamgadge. And he's from Maharashtra, but he got posted in Nagaland since 2001, and since then he has never looked back. He has been serving the Nagaland state as IPS officer since 2001, and it's been about 24 years.
That's right.
So it's a wonderful moment, and I feel privileged that he's here to talk with us today on many things. And I think many things, when I say there are things that we would really like to understand how IPS officers work. And, just to mention a few, he is also the DGP of Nagaland Police, which is the Additional
DGP.
Director General of Police of Nagaland. So I think it's a great privilege. And I think, we need to have this kind of conversation more often with the public as well as our police community. And I feel that this is one of the best moments that we can have like this. And also he has worked on deputation with the Central Bureau of Investigation for 4 years since 2011. I think there will be a lot of interesting things to talk about. And he cracked UPSC in 1998, and he got through UPSC as an IPS officer, and since then he got posted in Nagaland, and that's how we are here. But I think he maintains a very low-key profile, so many of us may not know him properly. But tonight, I want to bring him and talk a lot of things that we hardly know about the life and the work of an IPS officer, and I think there are many more things to unpack, and I can't wait to just hear from you. Thank you, sir, for joining us in this conversation.
Thank you
it's
so
a
much,
wonderful
Mr.
time.
Lungleng. It's my privilege to be here, to be a part of this show, and I wish to say good evening to you and to all your viewers.
Thank you. So you came to Nagaland in 2001.
2002. 2001, yeah.
Okay, you cracked in 2001 and
then we go up for some training.
Right.
Our training academy is at Hyderabad, National Police Academy.
Okay.
So basically the training, first 8 months we are in, 10 months we are at National Police Academy. Thereafter it's followed by 8 months of district training.
Mm-hmm.
So all India services, and when I say all India services, there are 3 all India services.
Okay.
As per the UPSC. Indian Administrative Service,
right.
IAS, Indian Police Service.
Right.
These 2 services are selected through the Civil Services Examination of UPSC. And the 3rd All India Service is Indian Forest Service. The exam is conducted by UPSC, but it's an entirely different examination, the selection process. So for all these 3 Indian All India services, a particular state is allotted as a cadre. We call it cadre. And thereafter, once a state or a cadre is allotted to officer, that becomes your kind of permanent cadre. You are supposed to spend a big time of your entire profession in that state. And the reason is that the All India services, as it was envisaged in the Constitution, and when I say civil services, that means it's a civil service. It's not a part of the defense forces.
Okay.
Like unlike the armed forces, Nagaland has seen a lot of postings of army officers, Assam rifle officers, etc.
Right.
But army officers get posted every 2 to 3 years to different locations. Unlike that, the civil services, and that too all India service officers, especially IAS, IPS and IFS, they get allotted to a particular state. We are supposed to learn the language of the state, get accustomed to the culture, understand the society, the demography, the traditions, the customs. Since we deal with the public, unless we learn all those things, I don't think so any officer can do justice to his or her service. I was allotted to Nagaland, and so I'm here.
Wonderful. I think it's wonderful to see someone from Maharashtra.
Oh,
You know,
pleasure.
I was in Maharashtra for, like I said, 6 years. So it
Okay.
feels wonderful that someone from Maharashtra
And,
comes.
and I'm in Nagaland now for last 24 years.
So you've been here for the last 24 years.
Yes.
How has your experience been so far? The people,
Uh,
culture.
yes, absolutely wonderful. I must say, I've been one of those very privileged officer
I see.
who has spent on field within the state, leaving aside those 4 years of my deputation to the CBI, as you mentioned.
Yes.
Rest of the time, I'm in Nagaland. So I started. Initially, I was posted as SGPO, Subdivisional Police Officer in Tuli. It's a subdivision in
Right,
Mokchung. And then I served as additional SP in Zunoboto for a year or so. Then I was promoted as the Superintendent of Police SP in Fake District from 2005 to 2008 approximately.
Okay.
I was there for three and a half years. Thereafter, I served in Kohima in the police headquarters for a year as a staff officer. And then I commanded 1st NAP battalion in Chumukdima for 3 years till 2011. And thereafter, I went on deputation to Government of India for 4 years.
Yeah.
In CBI, I was head of the branch for Special Crime Branch Mumbai, then Anti-Corruption Unit in Nagpur. I spent 4 years, and then in 2016, beginning of 2016, I returned to the state. And since then, now till 2025, I'm continuing to be in the state.
Now, before we jump into the details of your work and so on, I mean,
Right.
let's dwell on this the process of, because you just in your first attempt you cracked UPSC. I think
That's
and
right.
UPSC is, of course, is a tough exam, not meant for everyone. So if you can tell us, and I think many of our viewers are also aspirants, I think that might benefit them as well, our youngsters. How was the experience like? How did you make it in first attempt?
See, first, I don't think so that civil services is a tough examination. It is an exhaustive examination. It do need well-planned studies and your written skills and other things.
Right.
I don't think so, especially for the civil services. UPSC is looking for somebody who is extraordinarily brilliant or extraordinarily, knowledgeable. They are looking for somebody who can be an ideal public servant. So, civil services examination. So, basically, services is the important part. Somebody who is able to be a good public servant, somebody UPSC feels that can deliver the services intended for the public. That's what they are looking for.
Right.
Okay. As for me, I never been a good student. Let me confess that. My dad was in army. He was a constable.
Okay.
And so I was moving with my dad all over the place wherever he got posted. And my dad definitely, since he was a Jawan in the army, he wanted me to be an army officer. Of course, I did not fulfill that. I came to civil services. So initially, I did my studies in Kendriya Vidyalaya, KV.
Yeah.
So wherever my dad was posted, I was in KV. And from class 6 to class 12, I was in Sainik school. There are institutions, Sainik schools.
Okay.
So I was in Sainik school, Maharashtra for 6 years I was there. And as I was telling you that I was never a brilliant student per se.
Okay.
In fact, I flunked in class 7. Maths was always a torture for me. I was never good at maths.
And did you come from Marathi medium?
No, KV was a English medium
English
school.
medium, right.
And since my dad was posted all over, so in fact, till my class 6, I could not speak proper Marathi. In fact, only after going to Satara, that is my school, I learned proper
Because of your
Marathi.
school environment, right?
Yes, that's
I see.
right. That's
Okay.
right. And so I was telling you, I failed in class 7th. Those days, my school required 40 marks out of 100 to get promoted to the next class, and I could get only 32. So, and my teacher felt it not good enough to give me 8 more grace marks to promote me to class 8.
Okay.
So I failed quite early in my life, and I realized that tasting the failure quite early in life is good. It teaches you a lot of things. Maybe I was very young. Of course, I was very young, but then I think that was something changed the course of my looking at the things. And again in class 7th, I did not fail because I did not study. That's not the point. I was into reading a lot of other stuff, philosophical stuff, story books and comics and all those kind of things. But what I'm trying to say is someone like me who has failed in class 7th can also clear civil services when I was 22.
Okay. You cracked when you were 22?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I want to understand that the leap that you took,
right,
like from as a failing student, like you mentioned,
yes,
and the leap that you took. What changed? What changed later
on? See, after my class 12th, my dad had taken voluntary retirement by then.
Okay.
And he had his own reasons for voluntary retirement because of his own family responsibilities and a lot of other things. So after I came back from school to Nagpur, I realized that I, being the only person in the family, I need to take care of now my everything. And for someone like me, realized that the best and the shortest possible way to not only do the public service but also achieve the status, the position, the job security, all those things, the shortest possible way is through the civil services. And so throughout my graduation, I actually studied only for the civil services. Graduation was basically just in order to qualify. And that's how, and since being a part of the Sainik school, I was anyway preparing myself for the NDA examination, which was again being taken by the UPSC.
Right.
So I just continued my preparation after my class 12. And so as soon as my graduation was over.
So when did you realize that you should start preparing for UPSC civil service?
As soon as my class 12th was over.
Okay. Before that, it never
Before that, it wasn't. I actually wanted to join Armed Forces Medical College.
Right.
And
following the footsteps of your father.
That's what my dad wanted. But I could not do it. I mean, I cleared the written part, but SSB I could not make it. So I realized that, okay, maybe I'm not made for the army. So let me now try for the civil services.
Wow,
so graduation, yes, graduation. And when I say that, it was absolutely a very planned way of studies. I realized that, as I was speaking earlier, I realized that they don't want somebody who is, if I may put it, not a PhD in a subject. UPSC civil services has its own way. During my time, there used to be, for the preliminary exam, there used to be one more subject besides the general studies. Now, of course, preliminary examination doesn't have the subject. So for my prelims, botany was my subject because I did my graduation in biochemistry, botany and chemistry. So, and for the main examination, geography and anthropology were my subjects. So I realized that, see, and I qualified for the IPS. Nobody has ever asked me about botany. Or geography for that matter. Of course, now since I'm in Nagaland.
Have you ever applied?
No, of course, now since I got Nagaland Cadre, my theoretical studies of anthropology has really helped me to understand the society and a lot of other things.
Right.
But otherwise, for a lot of other students, those who someone takes engineering or someone other thing. So the professional life and the subject that you select in civil services is definitely not correlated. So as I was saying, it's just an exam and you need to qualify it. You need not study for years and years together. And what you need for qualifying is absolutely smart way of studies. So honestly, I did not study the entire syllabus. I went ahead only with the 60% of studies. But those 60% of the things that I studied was very, very calculated studies.
Makes sense.
So most of the time I simply analyzed the patterns of the questions that used to appear. And then I went ahead with that. So I would be a plain lucky guy, I guess.
I think, cracking this exam at 22 years, I think you had that brilliance when you were young also. That part is there for sure. And you really worked hard for sure. And with a planned strategy.
See, okay. I will not say anything on that. But besides studying, what is most important is how you perform in those 180 minutes examination time.
Absolutely.
Someone can study for 3 years and if he or she completely messes up on those 180 minutes,
Doesn't make sense.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
The
true.
person who is evaluating your paper really doesn't know if Sandeep studied for 3 months or 3 years.
Yes.
So those time management plus UPSC during my time, and I believe even now, used to specify the word limits. So you should also be very good in expressing your thoughts,
Yeah,
both in
yeah,
written
Totally.
and subsequently in personality test. So unless you are first well prepared in knowledge, well prepared means doesn't mean that 100% knowledge, but yes, you should know your subject, the basics of the subject. Second, you should be able to express your knowledge in a very limited time. Those are the skills that the UPSC is
Absolutely.
looking for.
Absolutely.
So I actually concentrated more on paper solving even back then. So I think the time management along with the word management, and I guess I was able to write okay.
I think makes sense. I think that's totally really makes sense to me as well, although I'm not an aspirant and I was never an aspirant too. Like coming from a social work and development background, like we're more of an activist, like we want to do this, we want to fight against and fight for these rights.
Right.
So UPSC and civil service was never part of my plan as well, but it's very interesting to learn that, the strategy that you were really explaining. I'm sure many of our aspirants will really take away a lot of important things from you. So I think what really caught my attention is since you were on deputation,
right,
with the CPI,
right,
like I really want to understand how does CPI work, like investigation and so on.
Right. So see, CBI is the Central Bureau of Investigation.
Right.
Two important words are central and investigation. Central means Government of India's agency. It's a Government of India agency, but as per the constitutional scheme of things, the policing, the law and order, and the criminal investigation per se is a state subject.
Right.
And when I say state subject, it's basically the state government's prerogative, the powers and authority.
Absolutely.
So, at the time of the inception or whenever we adopted the constitution, the Government of India per se did not had any federal investigating agency. Like in US, we have FBI. A lot of your viewers would have seen in the movies and FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation. But India, we did not had anything called as Federal Police Investigation Unit. So CBI came into existence somewhere in 1964 as a part of purely an anti-corruption agency for investigating the corruption-related charges in the Government of India and its ministries, departments, offices, etc.
In the initial stage.
In the initial stages, yes. CBI came into existence as the executive order, and official name of CBI basically is DSP, Delhi Special Police Establishment Act. So popularly we call it CBI, but officially it is called as DSP. And for a good number of years, CBI remained concentrated on investigating only the anti-corruption cases, corruption investigation. But subsequently, as the nature and the character of the offences and the crimes also changed, and agency was required to, let's say, investigate offences which are spread in multiple states or multiple jurisdictions or even multiple countries. Then CBI started taking up or diversifying cases of taking the bodily offences, the organized crime, the bank offences, the offences with international ramifications. So it started growing in a way, and now CBI by and large has presence in almost all states.
Yeah. And they deal with a lot of crimes as well, right?
It does. So besides suo motu taking cognizance of corruption cases of the Government of India and its agencies, its ministries, CBI can also be given cases by the constitutional courts. And when I say constitutional courts, basically the Honorable Supreme Court and all the high courts.
Correct.
So any offense which any of the constitutional court feel that it needs to be investigated by CBI for whatever reason, maybe for the sensitivity, maybe for the intricacies, maybe for the difficulty, maybe for the multiple jurisdiction. So High Court can order CBI to take up the case.
Now that you said about the suo motu and more sensitive cases, when there are crimes and cases or anything related to crime and corruption that
Right.
occurs in the state.
Right.
Let's say in the state.
Yeah.
People don't trust the state police to investigate in a free and fair manner. And people have that mentality that CBI is more efficient and they're more, into the crime and they will really nab the person behind the crime. Is it really true that CPI does justice, or because the police system seems at the state level seems to be manipulated by the politicians sometimes?
I'll try to answer that from a point of view that I have served in CBI also, and
Right,
I have
exactly.
been a part of state.
You're the
police
right
also.
person to answer that.
In fact, before joining IPS, I worked as a DSP in CBI for 3 years. So I have worked at the field level also and the CBI. And then as an IPS officer, I was in deputation for 4 years. So I have put in 7 years in CBI, both the sides of the things. So, CBI as an agency is 100% dedicated only for the criminal investigation. It doesn't do any other policing works per se.
Right.
So right from the junior most functionary, junior most officer in the CBI up to the director CBI, their only job is to criminal investigation. So they can 100% focus on the criminal investigation part. Besides that, CBI has its own mechanisms, crime manuals, very standard protocols of supervision at multiple levels. Right from the SP, the head of the branch, up to the director. Those cases which are given to the CBI by the courts, at times courts also monitor the investigation.
Right.
But one very important aspect of CBI's good professional record, if I may say, is the fact that CBI has its own independent directorate of prosecution. So every CBI branch, besides having the police officers, also have the legal officers, which try to guide the police officers at every stage of investigation. Now, so the conviction rate of CBI after the completion of the trial is really good.
Yeah.
Now, as compared to the state police, for the state police, we have all aspects of policing. Right from the investigation, definitely. The FIR starts at the police station level. That's the first stage of the beginning of the criminal justice system. Then we complete the investigation. We put up our police report in the form of charge sheet or acquittal, etc. to the Honorable Court. Court goes through the evidences, the quality of the evidences, appreciate the evidences. And if the court feels that the allegations which we have leveled and the evidences that we are producing against a particular suspect or accused, if the court feels that those are good enough, court convicts a person or acquits the person. And then the third stage is, once the conviction is there, the person is sent to the prison, the correctional system. So these three aspects, the police, the investigation, the trial by the court, and the correctional system by the prison, these three aspects constitute the criminal justice system. Now for the state police, your question was, besides the criminal investigation, a large part and large time of the police is spent in the law and order mechanisms. The traffic management, the VIP security, the managing the festivals, managing the crowds, so on and so forth. So a police officer in the police station, a sub-inspector or a SHO, the OC, basically the poor officer is running whole day from managing one crisis after the other. Right? So I'll be very, very objective in saying that Nagaland Police, since this is my cadre and I've been here for last so many years, our officers are really good. Our police officers are very, very good, especially in terms of investigation. Yes, they do need little bit of upgrading of the skills, little bit of more training. But if they are properly supervised, if they are guided properly, they have done good investigations. Also, I can say this not just because that I'm a part of Nagaland Police. I'm holding the charge of Additional DG Law and Order for last 3.5 years. So the entire CID department, I supervises the cases, be it the special crime cases or the narcotics cases or be it the cyber cases and so on. So there are cases which were completely blind and officers have been able to solve it. So if you give them that proper time, focus and proper supervision, officers are able to do it. So I think that's the difference between.
Okay. I think that's very interesting. Now, when I look at your profile, you are also specialized in cybercrime. So I want to understand. Suppose, let's take an example.
Right.
I'm someone who is willing to commit a cybercrime.
Right.
And let's say I post something that will affect or that will disturb the harmony of the community.
Right.
Something fallacious and fake news, and trying to, let's say, create all these tensions among the community, and those are not true. So if I use fake account, all this fake name, fake email, fake phone number, do you think police will be able to
absolutely
find me out?
Absolutely.
How does that work?
See, one of the biggest misconception about a lot of people, lot of young users, those who deal in the information technology,
right,
and especially with the smartphone and the smart gadget proliferation.
Exactly.
Almost anybody and everybody uses the smartphone. You just have to get connected to the net and then you can go on. But this is a fallacious concept that you are anonymous.
Right.
No one is anonymous in IT.
I agree.
Irrespective of whatever technique you use VPN or you use any other fake identity. There are tools of identifying and finding. We have been able to identify so many cases in last couple of years.
In fact, that's very fearful. At the same time, that gives us hope. If fearful in the sense, if you want to commit such crime, it's going to be like police is going to come after you and nab you.
Definitely, it's a double-edged like any other technology.
Right.
IT is also a double-edged sword, and my only advice to all those people who would want to use this technology for wrong purposes, please don't do it.
Don't do it.
Please don't do it.
I think that's a wonderful advice, and it's so refreshing to hear from someone who has been, part of that. And so, I mean, it's a great advice. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, it really enlightens in a way that it really gives hope to people as well. That regardless of how people trying to manipulate information and trying to cause all this tension, sometimes it's good that if it is reported, that can be resolved and that can be nabbed.
Yes, that's the key. Yeah. Timely reporting.
Right.
I'll tell you, we have a special helpline called as 1930 for all the financial scams. 1930.
Okay.
So increasingly, Nagaland is also seeing a lot of cases where the financial frauds are taking place, the cyber scams are taking place. You may have heard about the concept of the digital arrests and so many other things also. So not that Nagaland is remained untouched from all these things. So we have dedicated helpline 1930, and I must say, every day we get multiple calls. If the crime is reported on time, we are able to block those numbers, freeze the bank accounts, so that the money is, money is frozen before it is taken out.
True.
A lot of time people do not know. So of course, from the police headquarters side also, we try to make people aware about all these things. But yes, as you rightly said, timely information is the key.
Wow, that's wonderful. Yeah. I'm sure, learning all this information, I'm sure people can really make use of 1930 in timely reporting.
Yes.
So that we have less crimes and people go through less trouble in life.
Precisely.
Yeah, that's very important. Now, back to Nagaland. And Nagaland is, of course, majorly Christian community, at the same time, majorly, let's say, a tribal community.
Right.
And, I may be wrong, but I would say that we haven't fully developed when it comes to the idea of the rule of law. Right, as a tribal, as a Naga. So I think we are mostly ruled by a customary law. So like we don't really bother much about what will our system think if I do this. So how is your impression when it comes to that?
See, when we say rule of law, as a student of law and someone who has studied law in a formal manner, law has multiple sources. One source can be a formal law, an act passed by the parliament or the legislature. But if you see the jurisprudence part, the law part, one very strong source of law is customs. You mentioned about the customary law and the customary traditions.
Yes.
So I will not fully agree with you when you say that we do not have the rule of law. we have rule of law, but yes, rule of law, the source of rule of law may be different.
Makes sense.
Right?
Sense. Totally.
We do have the customary laws
Right.
for each tribe.
We do.
Of course, it may not be codified,
It's
it may not be written, but nevertheless, it's a source of law. And the societies is governed, the village life or the community life or the tribal life or the clan life or a family life is governed by the customary law. Right?
Makes sense.
And if society, any society for that matter, be it a simple society, a complex society, any society, if it exists for hundreds and thousands of years, there has to be a source of law which governs its conduct.
Yep.
So that was my take on it. Yes, I do agree with you on certain level that the modern concept of rule of law as per laid down by the constitution, that is something which has not been percolated completely. It's still in transition. It's still in transition.
Right.
And it may take some time, but again, if I may say, the way the state came into existence, the circumstances in which the state came into existence, because earlier it was all part of one single state, Assam and Naga
it was
tribes
part of
and
Assam.
those
True.
So in 1963, when it came into existence, and when the state was given a special status in the Constitution of India in the form of Article 371A, one very important concept of 371A was 371A subclause 2, which says that administration of criminal justice as far as customary law. So that is something which has been upheld by the Constitution,
Of course.
and also in multiple case laws also upheld by the Honorable Supreme Court of India. So customary law in the state is as valid as any other law, a law passed by the Parliament and subsequently passed by the State Assembly. That is one way. But yes, customary law, which derives its source and power from the customs and traditions which are prevalent in the communities, which are the tribals, with the tribal communities, our various tribes. Besides that, we have something also called as Rules for Administration of Justice and Police in 1937.
Okay.
So before the country got independence, during the British rule, these rules for administration of justice and police came into existence, which gives the authority to the village headmen, the village councils, the dobhashis, the JBs, but primarily it limits itself to the settling the civil disputes, the land disputes and other things, besides giving some minimal power for, let's say, small crimes. Somebody is creating nuisance in the village. Right.
Yeah.
Somebody is disturbing the peaceability in the village. So for that, fines are prescribed in the rules for administration of justice.
Okay.
But for any other major crime or for any other crimes, ideally the victim should come to the police station. So that awareness part is taking time to get percolated.
Yeah. Right.
Of course, now last year, as you would be aware, the earlier criminal laws have been repealed and it has been replaced by the new criminal laws. Be it the procedural law, we used to have earlier criminal procedure code, which has been replaced by BNSS now, Bharatiya Nagarik Samhita.
Okay.
Earlier we used to have IPC, the penal code, has been replaced by BNS. And earlier we used to have Indian Evidence Act. So since last year, July, the new criminal laws have come into existence, and I'm pretty sure slowly and steadily, since I'm seeing it as an outside objective observer, but also part of the inside society, I'm seeing that the awareness and the knowledge about the modern laws, the laws passed by the Parliament and by the Assembly.
Let's say established laws.
Established laws,
Yeah.
yes. Customary law is also an established law. Sorry. Okay. The laws are now slowly started. It's percolating down.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Society is in transition,
Yeah,
so
right.
obviously it will take some time.
I think that's very clear. So now looking at your profile again,
Right.
you were awarded the Governor's Gold Medal for anti-insurgency measures.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So, I mean, Nagaland police is not just dealing with the civil crimes and whatever. It's just it deals with also, let's say, Naga nationalist groups.
Right.
I mean, that is just the elephant in the room we hardly talk about. So when such crimes are committed, how does the police, deal with that? That seems.
See, you're right. We had a long armed struggle in Nagaland, and after 97-98, when the government of India had ceasefire agreements with the armed groups, Naga armed groups, and subsequently more groups came into an agreement. So as of now, we have 5 groups which are in agreement with the ceasefire with the government of India. And the ceasefire ground rules are very well laid, which says that what the security agencies can do and what the armed groups can do and what they cannot do. So all the ceasefire ground rules for any armed group, be it NACN-IM or NACN-Congo or NACN-R or Unification or the latest group, Mr. Nikisumi's group, they have signed an agreement with the government of India, and the ceasefire ground rules are very, very clear on that no criminal activities would be indulged by any member of these groups. Right? They will not disturb the peace of the society. If they are to move from one location to other location with the arms and the entire uniform and other things, there's a laid down procedure on how they are supposed to move. If there is any violation of these ground rules, either from the security agencies, be it the Assam Rifle or the Nagaland Police or the CRPF, or if there are the violations on the part of the
Naga
groups which are Naga groups, there is a separate office of the chairman of the CFMG, Ceasefire Monitoring Group, which is supposed to then sort out the violations. Basically, but a crime is a crime, let me put it this way.
Okay.
As a police officer, I view extortion as extortion, forcible extortion as extortion. I view abduction, forcible abduction as abduction.
It doesn't matter who commits it.
It doesn't matter who commits. Right? I don't think so. Any ground rules permit any Naga group to commit crime in the guise of ceasefire ground rules. And yes, we do get a lot of cases reported to the police station, and we do take action against them. Over a period of time, we have registered many cases also. If the armed group feel that our actions were not wanted or our actions were disproportionate, they will take the matter to the office of the chairman.
Right.
And then we go and we put up our point of view, they put up their point of view. But if somebody comes to the police station, or not police station, even if somebody gives the information through any channel that I have been wronged, there is a crime committed against me by anyone, it's my mandated duty to register a case and proceed ahead with the investigation.
Right. So, taking this opportunity of your presence here,
Right.
suppose I want to register an FIR at the police station.
Right.
And the police does not want to register. So does the police constables have the choice not to register?
No. The law is very clear.
Right.
See, when we say FIR means first information report. It's just information of a cognizable offense, if I may just simply put it. And the OC, the police station officer, the SHO, the head of the police station, cannot say no for registration of offense. Not in the earlier laws. Till after July 2024, when the new laws have come into existence, yes, the new laws speak about the OC can, if he feels that the information is not correct or a particular incident needs to be first inquired into before registration of crime. So there is a provision for he needs to register a PE, something called as preliminary inquiry.
Yes,
but that too only after obtaining an approval from the DSP, the SDPO. So OC simply cannot say, and that PE has to be completed within 7 days. And then after those 7 days, if he feels that yes, prima facie there is a case, he need to register FIR. FIR simply is beginning of a criminal investigation.
Right.
That yes, a crime is reported, we are commencing the investigation, because only after registering an FIR, the police officer gets the entire authority of investigation. And when I say what is the authority, recording a statement, summoning a person, seizing a document, seizing a particular weapon or whatever it is. So those are the legal powers given to the IO.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I think, this kind of information we hardly hear from people who are actively working on this. So I think that this is really helpful, although the information is very brief. Now, I think I want to come back to understanding the person you are, the philosophy that you believe in life. So, as I see your profile again, you study Ambedkar thoughts.
Right.
Ambedkar
Yes.
philosophy.
Right.
I mean, personally, I myself look up to Ambedkar, and as an Indian, I think Ambedkar is someone I look up to the most.
Right.
The work that he has done for us. I mean, without him, we as tribal, we don't know where we would be had Ambedkar was not, been not there during the process of this making of the constitution and all. So as an ST, I personally feel grateful that someone in the figure of Ambedkar existed who understands the need and let's say the suffering of the tribals. But I think when I look at the actual Dalits out there in Maharashtra, in other central part of the country, I think it looks like they suffer more than us. So, and you grew up in that environment, seeing people suffering. How did that shape you as a person?
Right. Thank you for raising this question. This is something subject which is close to my heart. You mentioned about you being a ST.
Right.
Someone from a scheduled tribe community.
Correct.
I come from a scheduled caste community. We do have the concept of the something called as untouchable caste.
Yeah.
So I come from erstwhile untouchable caste. Of course, untouchability is an offense now as per the constitution and as per the law, thankfully.
Right.
And Dr. Ambedkar, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, or we very fondly we call him Baba Sahib Ambedkar.
True Baba Sahib.
Yeah. So he was somebody. He was from my caste, but not to put him in a category, but somebody who had experienced the discrimination, the caste-based discrimination, pretty early in his life, and that changed his entire personality. His father was also in army. His father had worked with British Army. He got an opportunity to study, and so that was something which drove his entire life. And of course, one of the most educated person. He had PhD in economy. He had a PhD in law and a lot of other things. He studied in California, London, and so on and so forth. And someone like him who had not only experienced the discrimination in the society prevalent then, that shaped his ideology and the movement for doing something for the historically socially marginalized communities.
Yep.
So be it the scheduled caste, basically scheduled caste means all compilation of castes which are put in the schedule to the constitution, all compilation of the tribes which are put in the schedule to the constitution. So that's why we call it scheduled caste and scheduled tribes.
Right.
So you're right, being the chairman of the drafting committee of the constitution, we give full credit to Dr. Ambedkar and the entire drafting committee, Constituent Assembly, for making those provisions for not only the scheduled caste but the entire scheduled tribes in the whole country, be it in the form of the improving the educational qualification, improving the social profiles, making the reservation, trying to give a level playing field to each and every individual, each and every society of the country, which historically were discriminated or marginalized or did not get the opportunities for whatever reason. So he in the form of the chairman of the drafting committee, he tried to do something of level playing field. And since you mentioned that you have also studied sociology, so I'm sure you appreciate what I'm trying to say.
Very much.
But I would go beyond the entire world. Most of the country view him as somebody who has drafted, who was the chairman of the drafting committee for the constitution. But I'll tell you, you mentioned that I did my post-graduation in Ambedkar thought. So I know I can't say that I know everything about him. He was such a great man. His literature, he had written hundreds and hundreds of volumes of this, a lot of literature on almost all subjects. But I would want to say something here that as a minister, a cabinet ministry in the British government from 1935 onwards till 1946, he was a minister of labor. So most of the labor laws that you see, it was primarily, we can give the credit to Dr. Ambedkar. The equal salary to men and women, it was Dr. Ambedkar's idea. The concept of the maternity leave, it was Dr. Ambedkar's idea. He was somebody who ensured that the duration for the factory workers and everything is curtailed, so that the people are not discriminated, not they are not harassed. As a minister for energy, he was somebody who created the hydroelectricity projects in the form of Damodar Valley Corporation, in the form of interlinking of the rivers. He was way far ahead of his time, not only in forms of creating a equitable social justice, equitable. So when we speak of the preamble, the concept of the fraternity, the concept of the justice, liberty, equality.
He was
we can go on and on about Dr. Ambedkar, but
I have read a book on him. I mean, it's written by Dr. Shashi Tharoor.
Right. Yes.
It's phenomenal. And I mean, one thing that really touched me was the amount of struggles that he had to go through.
Yes, he has to go through. Yes.
And within that struggle, that's why I thought that for others just to run and compete in a race, others had to run with springboard on their shoes, but Dr. Ambedkar had to run with carrying 5 kgs of bricks on one hand and another 5 kgs of bricks on the other, and he had to run with all the difficulties and challenges, discrimination that he had to go through.
You have put it very aptly.
I was imagining that, and I was imagining what a great man he was.
And I must say, if you read the debates of the Constituent Assembly when the Constitution of India was in the making, he had mentioned about the tribes of Nagaland and the tribes of the then Assam and then Naga tribes and things. So he had it's quite interesting to read his thoughts about he used to say tribes of Assam, because Nagaland did not existed there.
Right.
So one must read his thoughts and views on the tribes of Northeast, especially the tribes of Nagaland and the things. And he was very much of the view that historically and in terms of other social indicators, besides being, creating development, the customs, the traditions needs to be preserved. So if you get an opportunity, try to read those
would love to.
constituent debates, assembly debates.
I think that I have read some of it, not directly reading from the manuscript, but referred by, mentioned in some books and articles, papers written by some scholars.
Right.
It's just very interesting. I think, it just wowed me every time I read it.
So you're right when we say that a lot of us, we do not know. We speak about, let's say, positive affirmation concept of the reservation in the educational institutions or the public employment. A lot of us really don't know from where does this comes.
True.
From where does the concept of this has emerged. So
even the idea of a welfare state.
Idea of the welfare state. The idea of nationalization of the state resources in terms of industries, in terms of a lot of other things. See, he, as a chairman of the drafting committee of the Constitution, he was way ahead of his times, and wasn't very easy to make this Constitution wherein with so much of diversity, so much of heterogeneity in the not only in Nagaland, all over the country, to give a equal level playing field.
Absolutely. I think, the last thoughts that I want to hear from you, when you look at America, they have really got rid of the affirmative action.
Right.
Now they're looking towards more, they claim to be egalitarian society, everyone is equal, no reservation, nothing is required.
Right.
But I think as far as India is concerned, it's still like we haven't, I'm sure it is our aspiration that we come to a stage where everyone becomes equal and no one needs reservation and special treatment as such. Right? Because we can't go on like this forever. And the debate is like reservation kills skills and efficiency. Even the debate has begun even in India. So as someone who follows Ambedkar's thoughts, how do you view on that when it comes to reservation?
Yeah, you yourself mentioned about Ambedkar carried 5 kg bricks on one hand. So I think I won't say that things have not changed. I can speak from my own personal experience. My grandfather was just a landless laborer. My dad was he got into public employment, but he was a constable.
Yeah.
Through the constitutional provisions, the opportunities that were presented to me, I got those opportunities. I tried to study myself. I tried to get it somewhere.
Absolutely.
But then how many of people like me, right? Okay. The idea of the concept of the merit, I think if you do not give the opportunities, how do you measure merit?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And we do not have any per se yardstick for measuring the merit. I don't think so that I still believe that one of the most fundamental duties of a welfare state is to treat everyone equal. Yes, definitely equal in terms of opportunities. That's what our preamble also says.
Absolutely.
Equality of opportunities and the skills. Now, how far this positive affirmation, the concept of reservation can continue, that is for something which the lawmaker need to decide.
Yeah.
In number of case laws by the Supreme Court, it has been upheld. For the OBC community, I'm sure you are aware about the other backward caste community, there is a concept of the creamy layer.
True.
Now the debate has also started whether a concept of creamy layer should be introduced in SCs and STs also.
True.
So if a generation has taken benefit of a reservation, whether his second generation should take or not.
Right.
That's something which the law should come up with.
Right. We need.
But at the same time, I will end this by saying that yes, there are still many people who need it.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. We need that equality of opportunity, and we're not asking for equality of outcome. We're asking for equality of opportunity.
Precisely.
I think, although we take just a brief time to talk about, although we talk briefly, I think we have touched a lot of important things, and I'm so grateful.
My pleasure.
For your humility and giving us this time to have a conversation.
No, it's absolutely my pleasure. I love talking to you, and thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for coming in. We look forward to having more conversations in the future.
Yeah, whenever, if you want, and if your viewers are absolutely not bored my conversation, I would love to be a part of it.
I'm sure it's quite relatable to us, to me personally as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.